the University of Pisa, especially Marilina and Gianluca for inviting me to give a lecture today. This is my very first time in Pisa, and really I'm delighted to be here. When an Egyptologist alludes to the animals in ancient Egypt, that is often from the religious point of view. In other words, he focuses on the place and on the role of the animals in religion. However, in this lecture, I chose to adopt a somewhat unusual approach. I will indeed not speak about religion, or at least not so much. This lecture will be dedicated to the animal itself and to animal metaphors and comparisons. That is to say, the human seen in the animal, or the animal seen in the human. There are a lot of such metaphors in every language, but a given comparison, a precise comparison, is not always transposable to another language. Why? Because it is closely related to the relation between humankind and nature in a given place. So, I'm sure you have plenty in Italian. In French, for example, we say bête comme un âne, as dumb as a donkey. Or we say from a boorish or grumpy person that it is like un ours mal léché, a grouchy bear, or un orso mal leccato. Sorry for my Italian. These expressions are often hard to translate from a language to another because, as I've said, the references are different. Some metaphors, some animal metaphors are universal, but many others are contextual and will differ from region to region. Maybe that in Italian you have different proverbs differing on the north and the south. Well, that's the case in French language. So, via the anthropocentrism, the human being may recognize human character traits in the animal behavior. It must be pointed out that quite often the human behavior assigned to the animal is far from reality, is distant from the animal reality, and from the real animal ethology. This is due to the very use of this comparison used to castigate human misbehaviors. So you find what you want to find in the animal behavior to castigate the human misbehavior. Consequently, there are this comparison, these metaphors, there are more allegations, the donkey is not really dumb, than elements of a true ethological approach of the animal. So I have selected a specific animal, the crocodile, which was present in daily life of the Egyptians. As in many societies, the Egyptians have recognized in animals some human personality traits. And for obvious reasons, the crocodile is nearly absent from European metaphors, except the expression crocodile's tears, lacrime di coccodrillo. I'm trying to speak Italian. So let's start. Here. So the animal we'll deal with is of course the Nile crocodile, more precisely the Crocodilus niloticus laurenti 1768, which is common to the whole Nile watershed. Here is a spectacular representative of this species. Sometimes the Nile crocodile can reach 5 meters in length, like this one called monster croc, and this is from Zimbabwe. And this monster croc terrorized and ate many cows from farmers. Some crocodiles are even man-eaters, and that was also true, of course, in ancient Egypt. The crocodile was a very dangerous animal for humans. So taking into account the daily life of an Egyptian, it is easy to figure out why the crocodile was the incarnation of the fate and of the divine punishment. Because if you don't pay attention to you, you can be eaten by a crocodile. So we find many types of crocodile metaphors or comparisons in many different texts: wisdom, narrative, pessimistic, prophetic or dream interpretation, royal elogies or decrees, medical texts, and private autobiographies. Depending on the nature and on the aim of the text, different aspects of the crocodile are evoked. Considering the time allotted to me, I had to make a selection of this text, and I will chiefly use wisdom texts during this lecture. Wisdom texts which are also called teaching or instruction texts. Why did I choose this text? Because in this text, we are used to educate the future scribe. The crocodile is the image of a non-educated person, an educated person. It is not uncommon to face difficulties in giving a translation, a relevant and fluent translation in this wisdom text, in modern language. As a consequence, I will, if appropriate, reformulate a little bit some phrases in English to make it clearer to you. I won't deal with royal text, but in royal text, the metaphor of a crocodile is commonly used to illustrate the strength and the power of the king. But the crocodile shows ambivalent aspects, positive or negative. Indeed, besides this aspect, and especially in wisdom texts, the saurian can be the image of abuse or misuse of power. For instance, in a royal text from the New Kingdom, the priests of a moon are described as crocodiles by the king himself, meaning in this case corrupt high officials. We would say today rather sharks, squally. This pejorative connotation appears in wisdom texts, especially in the one of Demotic. So, do not display aggression towards him like the crocodile when he is weak and he relates to the subordinate. We would say today, in modern language, don't shoot at the ambulance. So don't attack the weak person. In other words, to be aggressive against weak persons means that you are a coward, that you are even weaker than the person you attack. This also reflects a lack of education or miseducation. A good chief is not unfair. So when it comes to denounce an impulsive, thoughtless, and iniquitous chief or corrupt official, the crocodile is a nice metaphor. This metaphor appears in a wisdom text and then is a piece of advice given to the future scribe-in-chief. So it's a kind of moral management plan used for the future scribe-in-chief. Another example, this one again from Demotic teaching. If you are a leader with free decisions in what you order, you should launch the process only once it has been carefully considered. Keep in mind the following days about it. A deal does not complete amid praises. As well as the crocodile spurts out, the condemnation happens. If I'm trying to translate this in modern language, we will say, if you are a chief who can freely act, take your decision only after carefully considering it. Because if you rush without thinking, as the crocodile does, when it spurts out from water, you could take the wrong decision and your reputation will suffer. That's the way I understand this text. So once again, this is a maxim, a proverb, prescribing to the future leader of scribes to carefully weigh his directives to protect his prestige. According to Pascal Vernus, the wisdom texts affirm that a man may obtain a better situation or embrace richness through his personal competence, but mainly thanks to his ability to control his nerve impulses. The crocodile does not control his impulses. He's a wild creature, not educated creature. He acts instinctively, without thinking. So according to the teaching of Ptahhotep, according to Pascal Bernus, the teaching of Ptahhotep originates from this category of bureaucrats and administrators emblematic of the Egyptian society, who are, in a manner of speaking, the dominated of the dominants. Of course, they belong to the upper class, but inside this class, they still have a chief above them. So they still are the subordinates of the ruling elite, that is to say, the courtesans and the high officials which are above them. In other words, these administrators are always the subordinates of someone, and of course, they can be confronted to a tyrannical leader. So here in this teaching text, used to educate the future scribes, the students are warned of the dangers of the world of work. Next example, this one from the teaching of Mary Carey. The crocodile on the bank is like the Asiatics. If he captures, it is near an isolated road, but it does not plunder near the key of a populated city. In other words, you do not have to fear the Asiatic enemy. It means the people, not people from Asia, but from the modern Syria, because he is a coward. He won't attack you when you are with people, but when you are alone. So it means that union is a strength against the opponent. Don't stay alone. You have to have people around you to protect you. Here is a scarab from the Hyksos period, and you see the crocodile as the image of the enemy. You have the king as a lion above the image of the crocodile, and the crocodile there is an image of the enemy. In reality, the Nile crocodile can attack at any time, equally a lonely man or a large herd of wildebeest or zebras, as it is often seen in wildlife documentaries. You know, when you see the crocodile attacking many zebras or many wildebeests. Another example, this one for another teaching, the teaching of Amennacht, which is a Ramesside teaching and which is less known than the other ones. So, Amennacht is speaking to the future scribe, to the apprentice scribe. Come, let me describe to you the humble tasks done by the insane and clumsy one, whereas he does not listen to the teaching of his father to become a valuable scribe. He is still in the moored bark, and his head is in the water. He will be one with the crocodile and the hippopotamus, each of them pulling on his side. That is that the scribe who is not attentive at school will be miseducated. It will stay wild. And so it is comparable to a wild animal like the crocodile and the hippopotamus. As he will be incapable of getting control of his natural impulses, of his nerve impulses, he will have no future, and as is translated by the picture of the mark of the bark still moored to the quay, immobile bark. You can't move, you have no future, you stay in the water with wild animals like the crocodile and hippopotamus. Thus, the still young and fierce cry is domesticated by education, but you have to listen to the education. Just not to be present at school. You have to understand the instruction and to apply it. So in a manner of speaking, education is a way of unwild the young scribe. Another example from the satire of the trades, or teaching of Teti. I have seen the boilermaker at work at the mouth of the furnace. His fingers were like the attributes of the crocodile. So this teaching of ethical, also called the satire of the trades, is an apology of the profession of scribe, presented as the best profession to choose, comparing it to other professions and their unpleasantness. So here you have the unpleasantness side of the boilermaker profession. The interpretation given to the head, the attributes of a crocodile, literally the things of a crocodile, is uncertain, either the legs or the claws of the crocodile, even if we follow Pastel Vermus, the excrements of the saurian. Anyway, in any way, it's a negative comparison. Anyhow, it is probably linked to me, to my mind, to the osteoderms of a crocodile. So this kind of thing on the skin of the crocodile. And it is conceivable that the very dry skin of the hands of the boilermaker, you see how close he is from the fire. It may have evoked the particular skin of crocodile, very dry skin, not soft skin. So once again, wild bird is reflected by the crocodile once again, and it is opposed to the educated milieu of the scribe. So you have the wild animal and the educated milieu of the scribes who can control their impulses. Another example, this time from the teaching of Amélie Montpet. He is like the youngster of a jackal in a grazing land. His eyes shift toward from one to another, provoking brothers to quarrel. He brings back his tail like the youngster of a crocodile. He cripples the one he reaches. We have here the description of the sanguine and impulsive man, the one the Egyptians call the boiling man, like the boiling water. This boiling man is like the youngster, searching for fight and quarrel. He wants to measure his strength and find who is the stronger one. So it speaks about, it's a description of the hot-headedness of youth, you know, when you are youth and fiery and full of strength, and that you want to measure your strength, and that is the case here. The impulsive and uneducated man is like a child, unable to control his impulses. So education, once again, is a means of growing up and becoming an adult. You have to control your nerves, your impulses, while you are grown up. So here the impulsive man is compared to the youngster of a crocodile, which will attack using its tail. However, it seems that the use of the tail by the crocodile, like a weapon, may be a myth. This myth is known as early as Horapollo, an Alexandrian philosopher from the 5th century AD. Horapollo was written in the Coptic language, a treatise called Hieroglyphica, giving a more or less fanciful interpretation of science. And here is the excerpt dealing with the crocodile. To say darkness, the Egyptian depicts the tail of the crocodile, for by no other means does the crocodile bring about the darkness of death and destruction of whichever animal which it may have caught, if not by first wrangling it with its tail and render it immobile, for in this part the strength and vigor of the crocodile subsists. Nevertheless, some scholars do not think this is a myth, and they agree that the crocodile does use its tail as a weapon. The ethology, so the study of the crocodile's behavior, could help us, even if it's a poorly studied field. The crocodile has been observed using its tail, curving it backwards as a kind of net to catch a school of fish. You know, so he uses its tail as a net to catch the fishes. Be that as it may, a myth or not a myth, the crocodile's tail is fundamental and enables the crocodile to swim. Its undulating tail, which is very muscular, helps the saurians to move and to propel itself. The tail also enables the crocodile to squirt instantly from water to catch its prey. By means of its tail, it can propel itself to more than 1.5 meters above water to catch its prey before taking it at the bottom of the river, thus drowning it. I remember that in a wildlife documentary, I saw a crocodile whose tail was severed during a fight, and the zoologists who take care of them, they had to equip it with an artificial tail to enable him to swim again correctly, because without his tail he was not able to swim, at least correctly. In contrast, the tail is very useful in water. In contrast, when the crocodile is out of the water, its very heavy tail annoys him a lot, and its legs are comparatively very short. So out of water, the crocodile is like a kind of klutz, and is running at 4 kilometers per hour, so not so fast, I would say. Its tail represents 18% from the total weight of the living crocodile, but once he is dead, 35% of the empty carcass. So it means 1/3 of the body weight, which is really, really much. Another example from the teaching of Sheshonki, so a later teaching. If a woman falls in love with a crocodile, she will take his temperament. As previously mentioned, the crocodile is a representation of the greedy and unfair official. Here, it is a matter of imitative behavior. The temperament and the defaults of a person can contaminate another one who lives with him or her. Next example from the papyrus in Singa. One hunts on the river only after the god, so the crocodile, has passed by it because of its voracity. The alleged gluttony of the crocodile is castigated here. The crocodile is eating too much. So one may naturally think that it's safer to hunt on the Nile once the crocodile has eaten. Once he satisfied his hunger, it was of course less dangerous. If we transpose this behavior to the field of morals, this will mean it is better for you to wait that the most powerful ones has been served and are replete before you take your own slice of the pie. So first the chiefs eat, and then you eat the rest. On another issue, I would like to mention 2 African sayings. So the first one is, there is no place for several crocodiles in the same backwater, because otherwise they are eating each other. When there are too many crocodiles in the same place, in the same small territory, it's not good. It's always a sad end. The second African saying is that one, the one who flatters the crocodile can take a bath quietly. So it means to compliment and to flatter your chief may be a way to avoid or to prevent his criticism or attack. In modern way, we say to entangle someone in honey, or I saw in Italian, invischiato nel miele. You know, flattery is very useful sometimes, and it is advised to the future scribe. So the meaning is clear. Antagonisms emerge from rivalry of too many ambitious men on the same territory. So it is wise to wait for your turn and not to be impulsive. Once again, this teaching is used to educate the future scribes, giving them practical advice using the clear example of nature. Another example of the teaching of papyrus in Singa, and I will deal a little bit with religion in this example. This is a very interesting text. The vices of the fool affect his own brothers as surely as the sacrilege crocodile affects his divine brothers. So the wrongdoings of the crocodile, the wild and dangerous animal for the human beings, harm the reputation of the sacred crocodile, the deified crocodile. So one can clearly see here that the Egyptians has distinguished deified crocodiles and common crocodiles. I mean, not deified crocodiles. So not all the crocodiles were deified as Sobek or other deities. Thus, it is recommended to the person concerned to maintain his reputation to stay away from misbehaviors. Ordinarily, the saurians cooperate together, and most of the time they do not fight each other to catch the same prey. But in case it goes after one of his group, it is only in stressful conditions. It is almost rare. So the message here could be that under pressure or fear, the one who misconducts can harm even his congeners, his colleagues. The crocodile is greedy and his attack is rapid, so that an Egyptian text compare an infantile disease to the attack of the crocodile. He said that the infantile disease is so quick, so rapid, that it is like a crocodile diving from the bank into the river. I'm sure you've seen this in wildlife documentary, when the crocodile I've seen prey is diving very quickly in the water, and the attack of the crocodile is compared to the sudden attack of the disease. Another example from Papyrus in Singer. There is the bad man who is calm like a numerous crocodile, and there is the restless one. His silence is heavy like lead. So two different temperaments are presented here, a calm man and a nervous man, but both are dangerous. The instruction emphasizes the importance of the apprentice to keep calm in his speeches. One does not listen to the one who shouts. You have, once again, to control your nerves. The first instruction, there is the bad man who is calm like a numerous crocodile. This instruction may remind an African proverb saying, don't think there is no crocodile because the river is calm. So we should not trust still waters. So it's the quiet ones you have to look out for, because the attack can arise as fast as a crocodile can gush out of water to attack. In French we say, and I'm sure you have it in Italian, il faut se méfier de l'eau qui dort. So calm waters are not dangerous water. Another example from Papyrus in Singer. A snake spits his venom from its mouth. A common man bears his venom in his heart. If he eats, he mercilessly kills like a crocodile. One cannot expel nor the crocodile's venom, nor that of the poisonous snake, as one cannot find a cure for the blow of the enragement dog. So note here that the crocodile is considered as a poisonous animal, which is not really a fact, except that if you are bitten by a crocodile, there are so many microbes in the mouth of a crocodile that, of course, you can have an infection and die, but it's not because of venom. So this comparison, the fact that they consider the crocodile as a poisonous animal, enables a comparison between the harm caused by the bad words of a furious man and the harm caused by the poison of a snake or a crocodile. Bad words may kill like poison. So once again, if you want to be a good scribe, to become a good scribe, you have to take care of your words and not to say bad words. Let's now move on to prophetic texts or dreams interpretation. If a man sees himself in a dream absorbing crocodile meat, good. This means absorbing the properties of a dignitary. You have there a rare photo of cannibalism among crocodiles. It's really very rare, but it can happen. The crocodile, once again, in this text, incarnates the wealthy man. So eating, if you are already a crocodile, you can have even more richness by eating, by acquiring the properties of a dignitary. Another dreams interpretation, this one, this time a demotic one. If she gives birth to a crocodile, this means that she will give birth to numerous children. So here the crocodile has a positive aspect and is synonymous with prolificity. In this demotic text, the next dream alludes to the fact that the female crocodile lays numerous eggs. So you see that there can be positive comparisons to the crocodile. Another demotic dreams interpretation. If she breastfeeds a crocodile, a wealthy man will enrich her. So the same positive aspect of the crocodile is found. The crocodile equals abundance of goods, also because it is the incarnation of an ambitious and greedy official who built up a small fortune. So an ambitious woman can take some advantage of being with him. But there is always the reverse side. If a crocodile copulates with her, she will die rapidly. So that is the potential risk of sharing your life with a crocodile and wealthy man. It can enrich you, but it can also, in a way, kill you because of its harmful and toxic temperament. We now move on to tales and narrative literature, which are, for the most part, older texts. And I begin with a peasant tale. How miserable is the indigent that you destroy. You are like the messenger of the crocodile. These tales are moral significance. Here, a figure from the tale called Renzi is compared to the merciless crocodile because he abuses his own powers. Here, the crocodile is meant by the Egyptian word khenti, and this word designates a crocodile god acting like any other dangerous god with emissaries. The crocodile is here the incarnation of fate, of destiny, and it should be recalled that after the judgment of the dead, the Egyptian, if guilty, can suffer a second death by being eaten by the great devourer, and this great devourer is an hybrid creature, including the head of a crocodile. Nor, the crocodile was of course a real danger in daily life, as well as the lion and hippopotamus, included in this hybrid creature. There are still tragedies because of crocodiles and hippopotamuses in some African countries. So it's not surprising to find a crocodile here as an image of the fate. It was really a daily danger for Egyptians. This time we move on to tales, but satirical tales, which are only pictures without text. Some pictures on ostraka and reliefs keep traces of satirical tales whose text is not known, unfortunately. They use the animal comparison to stigmatize misbehaviors, and these tales have moral significance as well as, for example, the well-known tales of Aesop or Jean de La Fontaine, but there are many others, of course. Here you have ostracon with a hyena on the left and a crocodile on the right. And I don't know if you can see it, but in the middle of that there is a very poor and tiny fish. So we don't know who will devour it first. Who is the greediest there? Is it the hyena or the crocodile? I'm sure there are there is a satirical aspect behind this ostracon. Unfortunately, the tale or mythological event was lost, but for sure it's who is the more glutton, the hyena or the crocodile? Anyway, it's a satirical approach. Another satirical document, well-known satirical document, on the erotic papyrus of Torino. So you have an animal orchestra, and you have a crocodile there. A lutenist crocodile is playing lute. Is drawn up on its tail and is going towards a monument. Of course, the crocodile, as well as the other animals from this papyrus, are to be understood as men, not real animals. So the crocodile wants to play a delicate instrument with this massive paws, which is quite problematic. Have you ever tried to play lute with, box, I don't know, gloves, very massive gloves? It's quite difficult. So, even more, according to Egyptian texts, the crocodile has no tongue. He has no tongue. Because from the coffin text, they say that his tongue was cut because of what he did to Osiris. So he has massive paws, he has no tongue, and he can hardly be a good singer with no tongue and massive paws. So I believe that's the funny aspect of seeing a crocodile trying to play lute here. There is also a lutenist crocodile on the blocks from the chapel of the divine adoratress Temperament II from the 20th dynasty. Here, once again, this tale may be a part of the decoration of the wall, illustrating the divine birth. It may include mythological allusions, but there are just some small columns of text, very fragmentary columns of text, which Philippe Colombert studied. And he saw that, in satirical documents, often the word is reversed. It means, for example, here the chief is the mouse, in kind of throne, and the cat is serving the mouse. So it's a reverse word, and it is used to castigate, to mock the human misbehaviors. So Philippe Colombert, who published this scene, notes that this scene, the profession, each animal has a profession which seems to be related with its nature. And all the animals are complaining about their profession, about their condition. So we can guess that maybe the crocodile was complaining because it was not, he can't play and sing normally. He has no tongue, he can't sing, he has massive paws, he can't play the lute. So maybe he was complaining of being a singer, and he was not really able by its nature to do this. And this is now my last example from the myth of the sun's eyes. There's a very beautiful text to me. For every being in the world, nothing is preferable to his birthplace, the point where he was given birth. It happens that he, Mr. Creator, leads the heart of gods and men towards their resting place, tomb, which is the place where they were given birth and where they rest. You will find your sycamore tree. So speaks the destiny to the one he loves. May you die in the village where you were born, because you find there your sepulchre. And this again, if a crocodile is very old, wherever place it would be, it's in the canal, which is for him his village, that he shall die. So here the best birthplace is considered as the best place. Even the lonely man and seemingly insensitive crocodile needs to come back to die in his birthplace. Time is running and I have to conclude. So as we have seen, the crocodile encounters greedy and wealthy persons, or a bad leader, against which the apprentice strive, is warned of in educative texts. The use of animal metaphor or comparison makes moral concept clearer and less abstract, so that this rhetorical process is a kind of mnemotechnical means to memorize moral precepts more easily. We do not act differently when we read the tale of the cat and mouse to our children. I have selected a few texts, but there are of course many others. And I would like to let you with this African saying. Yes, African rich. The one who talks too much is like a crocodile. He has a big mouth, but small arms. So, beware of crocodiles.